Good evening and welcome to Sunday Evening Coffee. I am Brian, and sitting right across the table from me is my beautiful wife, Crystal. Say hello, babe.
Hey.
And Jennifer and Jason at the big people table. Whoop, whoop. I think we've officially moved them forever out of the kitty corner.
Yes.
So, as Del Giorno said, we're still looking for those extra microphones. So if anybody out there just wants to donate, just let me know. So we're excited because tonight we're doing the third part of the Marriage Toolbox, which is the 5 love languages.
Which we have 2 copies of.
And we both still seem to kind of fail miserably at it, but whatever. Who's keeping track, right? So I will tell you, even before we dig in, this is such a great book. If you do not have this, do your spouse a favor and go out and buy this today, and both of you read it and understand it.
Even though it is a little girly, as Paul mentions in Jen and Paul's podcast,
it's very,
with the hearts
and it's like it looks like a glycerin soap with roses in it. That's what I'm thinking it is. It's like what your granny had in her bathroom.
Yes.
Laying beside the powder puff on
with the
back of the
laced
toilet.
oil along
for
the
sure.
toilet.
But that to each his own, whatever.
That's right. So we're sipping on some Pete's decaf because we are back in our evening time slot for tonight. We had some stuff going on today, so we're back in the evening. It's getting dark out. And it's cold.
It's cold.
It is cold. It's going to be down to 12 tonight.
12 degrees.
Yay!
It's the middle of winter.
The winter's almost over. I keep trying to tell Jen winter's almost over.
And
it's already January.
That's right.
Middle of January.
You only have
It's
about
just
6
beginning.
weeks left.
Yeah. 6 miserable weeks.
technically, I don't think winter started yet, has it?
It is.
Yeah, in December.
December 21st.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So anyway,
That was the winter solstice.
the solstice. Okay. So that's going on. What else is going on? Anything exciting?
We're going to be grandparents.
We talked about that
Have
already.
we? Oh,
Yeah.
I forgot.
Edie was. We had her on Periscope last week, but even the week before that, we
that's
talked
right.
about
I
it.
forgot. Okay, well, that's old news.
Yeah.
Nothing new to talk about here.
Why did you say old news? Are we saying we're old?
So Robin Peoples had her baby.
Robin Peoples had her baby.
It was a boy.
Yeah. So she's had another little boy, so 2 boys and a girl now. So that's about all that's going on. Trump is up in the polls.
And Cruz is like right on his tail.
Yeah.
He's going to
Is he
be.
leading right now?
Yeah.
He is. It's like they keep.
And they're
kinda-
saying that he's the only one that can beat Hillary.
Trump. That doesn't surprise me.
So how do we feel about that?
I don't know.
I don't know.
He's better than Hillary.
I mean,
Anybody's better than Hillary.
Yeah.
I mean, I would take Bill Clinton over Hillary. I mean, if I had to pick of the 2, I would vote for Bill. Over
Bill.
Hillary.
Phil.
Because at least he's likable. She's not.
no.
She's terrible.
She's so bad. I don't know. So Donald Trump is president? I don't know.
I think it'd be entertaining, though.
Oh my
mean,
gosh.
it's-
That would be
at
so
least it'd be
Well,
entertaining.
I do think he's going to cut the
But-
issue with Islam out. I
Saturday
think-
Night Live would never run out of material.
No.
As president, right?
And they could make some cool shirts with like the hair. I don't know. You could do something creative with it.
And Halloween, I'm sure Halloween next year is going to be all about Trump.
Yeah.
Trump.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing too. Again, I feel like he's just on the edge enough that again, if he makes a threat, people might back up and go, he might actually do that.
Yeah.
So that's not a bad thing because I don't think people think Obama will do. There won't be any reaction from the White House. I think a Trump White House would be very reactionary.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's going to
Maybe
nip
very
things in the bud.
provocative.
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, I also think that he's going to get some good support from the younger crowd. That I think the younger crowd could relate to him a little bit more, just because he's so out there and being the Trump he is.
Yeah.
He's definitely has a name for himself. So I think the younger crowd, those 20-year-olds,
Identify, maybe.
that would carry him along.
And I think everybody wants to, who doesn't want to be a successful business person? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like there's so many different aspects to it. And he really doesn't back down and he doesn't care.
No,
And
he doesn't
at
care,
the end
and
of the
I
day,
like that.
I do
There's
too.
no political correctness.
No
that's for
political
sure.
correctness.
I just don't know how he is on some moral issues. That's my only reservation on it.
Yeah. I mean, really, what president really have we had that's completely solid on moral issues? I mean, I agree, but
Yeah.
So I'm gonna wax.
And
really,
I think it goes to that whole argument of, do you really try to get this super conservative candidate that can't get elected, or somebody who's more middle of the road?
Yeah,
that can
the
get
lesser of two
elected?
evils.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you end up back in that quandary every time.
So I'm going to wax philosophical for just a minute. So we do this marriage toolbox series, and if you watch and you look online, you can see the picture is actually of a toolbox with tools in it. And so I really want you to stop for just a minute and think about this, because when I met Crystal, she would just assume use a stiletto as a hammer to hang a picture up.
Oh yeah, I use my high heels for everything.
The point being, she had a hammer, she just didn't use it.
I just grabbed what was laying there.
And I think probably
Are you fixing to use me as an example?
no, that was the
Okay.
example. But I can't even get my point out. You just keep talking. So
Let the words of affirmation talk.
that's right. That's exactly right. So my point is, I truly believe in the marriage toolbox. I mean, I think we've seen it prove out through life group and different things that these are really foundational things, and they are tools that will help your marriage be better. But just having the tools doesn't do you a bit of good. And we see that even in our marriage. I mean, we don't have all this down pat and have it all right. And so I think the big thing with a tool is understanding what it is, and as silly as it sounds, even going and getting that tool and really thinking about what that tool is used for and what you can use it for. So as you kind of walk through the love languages, really take some time to get this book and to understand it. We didn't write this stuff. We've just kind of digested it and put it into a palatable form where we can roll through this in a little bit of time. But it's so powerful if you can start speaking your spouse's love language and understanding where they're coming from. It's such a powerful tool. So, I mean, Jason's a woodworker, and he's great with his hands and building things. And I knew as soon as I said that. I knew as soon as I said that we were going to dive right off the cliff. I don't really know if Jason's great with his hands other than building things. That's all I'm going to say. Because
Like Jennifer's beautiful new coffee table.
Yes.
Gorgeous.
Yes. And
As a gift.
As a gift.
As a gift.
Yes.
And he was very instrumental in Crystal's coffee bar. So anyway, all that to say, you want to use the right tool for the job and make sure you have the tools in your toolbox and don't just let them sit there and gather dust. So we've gone through so far in the toolbox, what is a biblical marriage, the personalities, and then this is the love languages. So we'll dive in and kind of roll through that. So
Do you want to go through really quick what our, Jennifer, just retake the test, what our top ones are really quick? Or
well, first, let me tell you what they are, and
Okay,
then we
let's do
will.
that
So
first.
the five love languages are words of affirmation, quality time, gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. So probably in your mind, you can already, without even taking the test, get an idea of what yours are. Maybe not. Crystal is a kind of a chameleon. She tests higher. She retook the test, and she tests higher definitely in certain areas. But even those, sometimes it's not overly evident what her love languages are. So, you retook the test today. What were yours?
My score was a 10 for quality time, an 8 for acts of service, an 8 for physical touch, 4 for words of affirmation, and a 0 for receiving gifts. That's where I'm at. No gifts, please.
So you're
Just
cheap.
give me the money. Take green. Jennifer.
I was a 10 for gifts, an 8 for quality time, and a 6 maybe for touch. And then the 2 were down low.
3 for acts of service and 3 for words of
10,
affirmation.
8, 6, 3, 3.
Nice. And Jason knows his. He didn't retake the test, but he knows his.
I took it a few weeks ago.
Oh, a few weeks ago, yeah,
yes.
because we were starting to do this. And we
So
didn't.
I tied a 12 for the physical touch and acts of service, a 6 in quality time, 4 in words of affirmation, and a 0 in gifts.
The 2 12s, those are both really high.
But her
So three of
gifts-
us here can't speak gifts at all. We don't. That's like
give all
that's
your
Mandarin
gifts to me.
Chinese. We don't know what's going on with it. So Jason wants you to make him dinner while you're folding the laundry and rubbing his back,
That's right.
and preferably not cauliflower mash as opposed to mashed potatoes. I'm just saying.
Or paleo meatloaf.
It's an inside joke that I won't go into right now. But anyway, so normally when we do this as a life group, there's
You didn't tell
Oh,
yours.
I'm sorry. So mine is 12 words of affirmation, and then 9 physical touch. Then the rest were, I don't even know what they were, but they were lower. And
They're not important then.
they're not important. And then gifts were 0. So I don't need you to buy me anything either. Just tell me how awesome I am, and I'll roll on all day long. So yeah. So one of the things that we do when there's a video that we show of Star Wars, like where they're walking in at the end, and we show it without the music, and then we show it with the music. And the scene is the same, the movie is the same, but just that music makes it completely different. And the whole point to that is when you learn to speak those gifts, it completely changes what your marriage is. You know, your marriage can still be there, but without that background music, without that theme music.
It's just Chewbacca yelling out awkwardly in the middle of the scene.
Right. So one of the other things that I really like to point out when you talk about love languages is really think about it in a language standpoint. So my aunt, Phyllis, whom we call Nanny, her daughter married a guy from Germany. And the first time his parents came over, they didn't speak any English. I mean, other than hello, you know, that kind of thing. And we went to the Red Lobster and had dinner, 20 of us. And
Which number one is a hoot nanny.
and I love to say the Red Lobster, like you're going to the Walmart.
Walmart's.
Yeah. So anyway, we're sitting at Red Lobster and we're, having our shrimp scampi and whatever else. And so his parents are here and they don't speak any English. And Nanny, who's hilarious, instead of just talking to them, because they can't understand her anyway, she's like yelling at them and doing big hand motions. Do you like to eat crab legs? I mean, it's the craziest
like
thing
charades.
ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're looking at her like,
The whole restaurant's looking at her.
Very stoic anyway.
and they don't have a clue what she's saying, because she's not speaking their language. So she's trying as hard as she can to communicate, but they're not receiving the message because they don't have a clue what she's saying. And that's exactly what marriage is. If you don't have the same love languages, my natural inclination is to speak words of affirmation because that's my gift. Crystal's is not words
I hear
of
wah,
affirmation.
wah, 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 wah,
Yeah.
wah.
And so that's not her natural inclination. It's her natural inclination is quality time.
You're actually showing love to her by speaking your gift.
Yeah.
That's how you're.
How you show love.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you don't understand when you don't get it back.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm doing all this stuff. Why aren't you doing it back?
And the whole premise of the love languages is we all have a love tank. And our love tanks get empty when we're not spoke to in that language. So and they get depleted down to a point where you just can't even function because nobody's speaking your language and you feel like you've not been communicated to. So that's what makes the love language is so vital and so important. There's a story in the first part of this book that talks about this 13-year-old girl who goes to her parents and she has an STD. And it's all because her mom and dad got divorced when she was 6 years old, and her mom got remarried. Her mom found love, and all she wanted was love, and nobody was speaking that language to her. She wasn't getting the love, and she didn't know how to get it. And so her boyfriend obviously wanted to have sex, and she wanted to be loved. She didn't want to have sex, but she wanted to be loved, and she felt like that was a way to show her love and to get love. And I think that's the trap that we all fall into in marriages, is we try to understand what love language we want to get, and we just want to be loved, so we try to do whatever we can to get that love, and when it doesn't happen, then we go, my love tank's drained, and I'm going to get a divorce. I mean, that's what happens.
Well, and one thing I think is interesting is the book spends time talking to you about the whole falling in love phase and how really your body tricks you into staying with this person, and that the euphoric stage where you're obsessed with each other lasts about 2 years, and that at that point there's no reality involved in what you see or feel. Like that other people around you see the reality of the situation, but you think everything is perfect, that there's nothing that is a negative whatsoever. And then after that point, you realize that the other person is self-centered just like you are. But it's after that time. So I think that's where you go from this euphoria to the day-to-day going, oh my gosh, this person doesn't know anything about what I need. And then you start to fall apart if you don't recognize that it's coming and have tools to offset it. And then it talks about that some people believe that the in love phase, that 2 year phase, is not even real love at all. that there's no actual real love at all in that phase. And it's for 3 reasons: that it is not an act of will or conscious choice. It's like it just happens. It's that mysterious thing. That it does not require effort or discipline, that it just happens. There's no effort involved. And that there's no growth of the other person that you're interested in. It's a completely selfish thing that you're after at that point. And then again, when that ends and the euphoria goes away, you're left with trying to figure out, why do I feel empty and why do I feel unloved? And then that's kind of where it starts with rolling into all the different love languages.
Yeah. So the first love language in the book is words of affirmation. I'll be honest.
The only one that matters.
That's why it's number 1.
Yeah.
That's why it's first.
No, I will say though, it's the most complicated because there's so many levels to it. All the rest of them, quality time, gifts, acts of service. I mean, those are all very.
I didn't even write any notes
self-explanatory.
about gifts.
Jennifer at school.
I'll tell you that.
But all those things are very self-explanatory. I mean, they're words of affirmation. There's so many layers to words of affirmation, so it does take up the biggest part of the book, and it's also the one I have the most notes on. But it's really
it is your number 12.
It's really not because it's my number 12.
Right.
So the object of love is not getting something you want, but it's doing for something for your spouse. I mean, that's really what the object of love is. It's the well-being of the other person. And I think we miss that. We think of love as being, well, get what I can, get what I can. And when you truly love somebody, that selfishness goes away. And like we talk about all the time, selfishness, we can trace every single problem in a marriage or in any relationship back to selfishness at some level.
Exactly.
Any sin or issue, pretty much, I think, across the board.
It's a fact, though, whenever you receive affirming words, you're far more likely to be motivated to reciprocate. If you're a words of affirmation person, when somebody's feeding you those words, then you're willing to do whatever because your love tank just gets more and more full. And I've told Crystal multiple times that, we have very different personalities, too, that play into it. I'm all about let's have everybody over all the time and whatever. And she's I don't need anybody around me so I can decompress and recharge. Yeah, that is
No
the
notes
table.
on gifts, but I have notes on that.
But here's the thing, and I think I figured out why I'm more energized by having people around is because she doesn't typically overfill my love tank on the words of affirmation. And
It's not my natural to do that.
And I find being in groups of people because I do make myself the center of attention most of the time, and because I try to continually make people laugh and whatever else, that's how my love tank gets full, And so it's really funny when you start breaking down your own psychology and going, okay, I do this because of this, and it makes me feel this way.
That's funny.
So verbal compliments is kind of the first layer of words of affirmation.
And in reading through some different pages today, I was going back through it, and it talks about verbal compliments are far bigger motivators than nagging. So rather than nag about something, to start complimenting other areas, and you'll probably get your end result.
I think that's true for anybody.
Absolutely.
For all good love
But
languages.
then to not use it to manipulate, and I'm like, that's where you'd have to be careful to not. For instance, when Brian made me the coffee bar, and I kept going on about what a great job he did and all this other stuff, and then I was like, oh, and I want you to make some shelves for the bathroom and some other items that I was thinking we could use.
Your list.
My list. And he was like, I feel like you're just manipulating me by telling me I'm good at it to get me to do more stuff. I'm like, no, I really do mean it, and I'm excited because you are good at it. And I'm thinking acts of service, that's one of mine. I can have a list for you to do. So that balance between being sincere and not trying to just use it to manipulate, and you not assuming that I'm actually trying to manipulate. I'll fess up when I am, but not when I'm not. I'm not above it. However, in that instance, I really was being very sincere. But
Do you have a ring on your upper finger?
I do.
Oh,
Sophie gave
I
it
was
to me.
like, what is that?
It's like a knuckle ring from Sophie.
Nickel.
Sorry,
It's a little heart.
didn't mean to derail there. It just was like, what's
But
on
I
her
read
hand?
that and I thought, okay, that's a good example of you thinking you're manipulating me by giving me my love, what I need in my love tank. So that's all.
So verbal compliments and encouragement requires empathy from your spouse's perspective. I mean, that's what empathy is. And we have to learn what's important to our spouse. I mean, we have to stop and say, okay, we know that if Crystal knows that words of affirmation are important to me, then whether that's her natural language or not, she has to be willing to try to learn to speak that language. There was an article, I think one of the times we were doing our life group, about Ashton Kutcher and Mia Kunis, whatever her name is, and she's Russian, and he learned, without her knowing it, he was going and learning Russian, and so he learned Russian without her knowing it.
So when they had their baby, he would be able to speak Russian.
And that's exactly what this is. That's exactly what this is saying. It's saying, figure out what your spouse's love language is and learn to speak that. Get Rosetta Stone of words of affirmation and gifts, and figure out how to speak that and to be well entrenched in it. Kind words is another layer. So tone definitely matters, and we talk about this all the time. A compliment in the wrong tone is not a compliment.
Exactly.
It does me. Yeah, it's exactly right. It is. It's the opposite. It tears down more than it builds up.
It becomes a backhanded compliment. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And Psalms 15:1 says, a gentle answer turns away wrath, right? But a harsh word stirs up anger. And I can't tell you how many times when we're disagreeing about something, in the back of my mind, God's going, a gentle answer turns away wrath. Doesn't always work, but it's there. Love makes requests, not demands. That's something else really, really important. And you think about what a request is. A request creates the possibility for the expression of love, whereas a demand doesn't do anything but suffocate that possibility of it. And so when you think about words and how important words are to a words of affirmation person, you have to think about the difference between requests and demands, and you talk about nagging and that kind of thing. Those things do make a difference, and maybe they don't make a difference to somebody who's a gifts person. Maybe they don't make a difference to somebody who's not. They probably do on some level, but it's an extreme heightened amount when you're a words of affirmation person. So that was the main points that I had for the words of affirmation. With what you guys know about words of affirmation, what other things do you guys see as positives or negatives or things you need to have for people who have words of affirmation?
Well, I think one thing is to be genuine in your words of affirmation. Like you said, don't manipulate. I mean, I think people can tell that if you're just fluffing them up.
And I always say it's okay to practice.
And you have to. I mean, if it's not your nature.
If it's not natural, you have to learn for it to be your nature and to figure that out.
But I think start small. You look really nice today.
Right.
Thank you
Don't
for
say
cleaning
something, a huge lie, just because, that no one's going to believe anyway.
Yeah.
Right. And I think too, something else is that if you have a spouse whose words of affirmation is their main love language, you have to be very careful with criticism, because I think just as much as words of affirmation builds them up, criticism tears it down even more than with someone who that's not their primary. You know what I mean? Like me, I can let criticism, I just get angry about it and let it roll off or whatever, but it doesn't tear me down necessarily to where him it does. So I think you have to be aware of that and then do your best to handle situations accordingly. So because that could be an issue. So
in that case, with the criticism, do you kind of, after you get something like that, do you kind of gel on that and just kind of, really take that at heart and really...
Does it give you a bad day?
Yeah, it kind of give you a bad day. And
it can even be something I don't realize I'm being critical, but he...
takes it that way.
You have to. There's a careful
the number one thing
there.
to remember for a words of affirmation person are words are powerful. There's so much more power behind a word for a words of affirmation person.
Life and death.
They're powerful to everybody, right? But to a words of affirmation person, they're more powerful. I don't think it ever gives me a bad day. They're definitely. Not everybody has the power with words either, Like her words are much more powerful to me than, somebody that I'm not as close to. So her words they do cut me more. And when she'll say, hey, you do this, or you're this way, or why can you not do this? Then it definitely does cut more to the core, and I do dwell on that more. And I try to think through and pray through, and I'm like, okay, God, is that really who I am? Because that's not who I want to be. And I've got to figure out and kind of track backwards into it and say, okay, yeah, I can see what that is and what that looks like, and I've got to try to fix that. But criticism, especially from a constructive standpoint, I think that's probably where it's harder for us because it's not always constructive. constructive criticism, like if my boss says, hey, you know what, if you would do this way, you'd probably get this result and this would be better.
Right.
Is better than going, well, you always do this.
Yeah.
So it's just, and again, it goes back to tone. It goes back to the way the words are. And so,
And again, you can make an offhanded comment and not really think about it, but it lands very differently.
Yeah.
Definitely.
When that's your main love language, I feel like.
Well, just like all 5 of them, it's what's in your heart that's going to come out through that language. And so if you've got a deceitful heart, your words are going to be deceit, and so that would it's easily tear down somebody.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And it does make a difference, when you can tell on the front end when Crystal really started working on this, it was very disingenuous. I mean, it was very like,
Well, and it's not.
Wow.
And the thing is, it's not that I didn't mean it. It's just
Right.
that I wasn't.
It wasn't
accustomed
natural.
to verbalizing it.
and
Yeah.
then once,
I just assumed he knows. He knows.
Yeah.
and there are times even now, like I know that she does it just to do it. Like I know that, but it's not as evident. But there are times when I go, that's a little much.
Yeah, he'll literally
that's
say,
really-
"Okay, that's a little. Back it up just a little bit. That's too much."
Like when she says, "Oh, your 6-packs look so good." I'm like, I don't drink, so I don't know what 6-packs you're talking about.
I only have a 2-pack right now.
Yeah, that's right.
I got a 2-liter.
I'm carrying around a keg. So, words of affirmation. Words are powerful. Just remember that. Quality time is the next one. So quality.
That's my top one.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
That's my second.
My second too. Quality time. No, physical touch is my second. Quality time is third. But quality time is important, and people misrepresent quality time. If quality time is not your love language, you tend to think quality time is what? We're sitting on the couch together. I'm watching football, and you're on Pinterest, and it's fine. And that's not proximity does not equal quality time.
Right.
And I think that's a very common misconception, especially from a male's perspective. Quality time is not in their top, 2 or 3. Then they think, well, we're in the same room. What? That's quality. I mean, I'm spending time with you. And so one of the things that we struggle with, Crystal, for some reason, wants to punish herself and me and wants me to go shop with her. And it's never a good thing. Never one time
I've given up.
has it turned out good. There have been times where I'll go and I won't say anything, and I won't.
You don't have to
I
say
don't rush
anything.
her.
You have like the
It's your-
cartoon bubble over your head.
But it's not for a lack of trying. I mean, I try, and I'll think I'm going to go shop with her, and I'm going to have a good attitude. And I do have a good attitude. I don't make her feel bad. I don't rush her. But it's just mind-numbing for me. And I tried to explain to her that's not quality time. There's no way that she can feel like
But
that's
it's
quality
an
time.
activity, though, and
Right.
quality time can be activity based as well. So
Absolutely.
it's about the hunt and the all the rest of it. So which I don't do as much as I used to. And one thing that I think is funny as I was reading through this, talking about undivided attention, I get so mad at Brian about his phone. But then I can be on my phone and it doesn't bother me. But it's when he's on his phone because I want his quality time. That's what I want from him. And when he first got his iPad, he won it at work. We were broke as a joke. I mean, we didn't have money to buy anything.
We were broke.
Broke as a joke.
Nothing. And he got an iPad, and they were brand new, and it weighed like 4 pounds, like it was the original ones. And I named his iPad Jezebel because he would sit in bed and play with it. And I'm
'cause
now
it was
I'm
new
like,
and
it's his
exciting.
quality time.
Yeah.
Yes. And his phone's Bathsheba because that's his. I feel like it detracts from my time with him. And like when we go to dinner or anything like that, I don't want to be messing with the phones. But I think too, it's why I have such a high regard. Like I love to go hiking, like anything we can do together where it's an activity we're both focused on. I think that's why I love to plan vacations and things where in my mind is focused on, we're going to have quality time during this time period. So that it kind of, just today as I was reading through, I thought, I bet that's where that comes from because it makes me almost jealous that it's pulling away from me. So that's a quality time issue.
I think the quality time really kind of is doing something together, not only just doing it together, but doing what you both like doing together. And I think that would, because you both feed off of each other at that point. And just like the shopping experience, it's your deal, but you're not
No.
yours. And so but when you go hiking, you guys are both out doing something that you both enjoy, so you both feed off of each other.
Or even like grocery shopping, we're okay together. He loves to go to the grocery. So it definitely makes a difference if you're both enjoying it versus it's not quality if one person's miserable. So, but that's my thought on that. And so
we've made a conscious effort this year to not be on our phones so much together. Have you noticed that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's the same thing where if I'm on the phone, it drives her nuts. Yeah. But then she's sitting right next to me.
You might miss something on garage sale. Those women are fast.
They are fast.
They are. It's brutal.
But so I get that you're
but it is different. I mean,
I can do two things at one time. Like I can pay close attention to what I'm doing and everything that's going on around me. But I do feel like our time together has become better when we are not on the phone.
Yeah.
I agree.
Oh, for sure.
I agree.
Well, and to a quality time person, time's the only commodity you can't get back.
Right.
So when you give freely of your time.
Yeah.
Then it really shows love because you can't get that back. That's spent. You can make more money. You can do anything else you can get more of. Time you can't. And so when you're willing to completely give that up, it's not watching. It's not, hey, I'm going to sit here right beside you. And for some people, it can be TV watching can be quality time. Like Downton Abbey's coming on later, and we're probably all going to be watching Downton Abbey, and
quality
it'll be quality time, right?
And I'm even okay with him watching football or something and me reading on the couch next to him. That doesn't bother me. Like I don't feel like I'm losing time. So I feel like I don't completely agree with that. Just out of my own.
No, I said I
feeling.
think it can be quality time. I think it just depends on the person.
Yeah.
But I think
Like
quality
for me,
time
I'm okay
where
with
you're
that.
giving up something. Because at the end of the day, when you're getting something, it's based on what you're giving up to get that.
Yeah.
And that's what's the important part of it. So you're giving up that time. I'm saying Sophie's a total quality time kid.
Oh,
quality
gosh.
time is 100% hers. She will come and sit down in my lap, and she wants to be right up my tail. And the first thing she'll say is, Sophie time, no phone time.
Yeah, so like put your phone down.
Yeah, and that's what she wants. And I do it. I mean,
And
it's
she
fine.
can be watching a show, but she doesn't want you on your phone.
Right.
Yeah.
Same thing, that same perspective.
And one of the other things too that I always go back to, you talk about hiking, quality time, if that's your love language, activities together provide you with a memory bank of things that you can look back on, and you can, we talk about all the time in life group, and we've talked about it in the class that we're doing on Wednesday nights. You have to have those positive memories. When you get to a place where when you start looking at your marriage and you look back at your wedding day or different times, and the negative memories start outweighing those positives. The first time you think back to your wedding day and you think, well, we didn't have a photographer there, or we didn't get this, or this didn't happen. Instead of, oh my gosh, when you walked in the door, it took my breath away.
You almost set your dress on fire.
You almost set your dress on fire because we had
almost took the candles out.
5,000 candles across the stage. But anyway, yeah.
So you, so quality time is high on your list too, Jennifer.
Yes.
So here's the thing. Do you think that's why, I feel like it makes me very protective of my time too, because I think it's very valuable. So I don't just want to give it up to anybody.
Right.
I think that's why
I'd rather
tend
just
to-
have time with him than 5-10 different friends.
Me too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you're saying you don't like hanging out with us?
We can all watch Downton Abbey together.
When we started hanging out a lot with Robbie and Vanessa would always say, Robbie likes y'all a lot because he gives y'all a lot of time, and quality time is his number one.
Yeah.
And if he's giving you his time, that means he really likes you.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's true.
So one of the other things, so do you feel like quality time, like quality conversation, is quality time to you? Because that's one of the things the book talks about, that quality conversation is usually a big quality time love tank filler, like sitting down and having an in-depth, just daydream, talk about whatever, and it's good quality time.
Yes, I love to daydream with him. When he doesn't slay the
Dream Slayer.
like one of the
Chicken
things that
coops
we
or
always
something?
do, but one of the things that we like to do is just go run out. We're all be home, and we're like, let's go get a cup of coffee, and we'll just run to Panera or whatever, get a cup of coffee, and just sit there and talk for 20 minutes, and then we go home. And I feel like that was a good day.
Yeah.
So
Sets the tone.
yeah, we just talk about our new home, what we want to do. We talk about our vacation. I mean, just anything that we want to do later in life.
And we also do it in the mornings too. And when we get up and have our morning coffee, a lot of times we'll sit there and really kind of speak honest and open to each other. Just say, hey, this is, what's going on, or the dreaming as well. So.
Well, and even if your love language is not quality time, that's such an important point of connection to be able to have those conversations. We sat down on
Saturday
yesterday,
morning.
I guess, and kind of rolled through our 2016 goals and our 5-year goals and what those all look like. And one of the things that I'm working really hard to get better at is, like, we're in a place where, I don't know, in 2 years we're probably going to start looking to buy land and buy, have a farm, and that's what our
So I'm
goal
already on
is.
Zillow, of
And so
course. Like every day I'm like, oh, look at this one. Oh,
Yeah.
look at this.
And my natural
get that.
instinct is Dream Slayer. I mean,
Yeah.
it's to go, why are you looking at that now?
That's 2 years down the
It's
road.
2 years down the road.
Yeah.
Nothing that you're looking at is going to be there in 2 years. Prices
It
are going
might
to
be.
be completely different, whatever else. But I haven't.
I'll just start
I
sending
get it.
Jennifer
Not a single
screenshots.
time.
I'll dream right there with you.
You will. She'll have it
I have
decorated
learned.
with
I've learned that when she's saying, "I want to do this to the house, and I want to do this, and I want to do this," she doesn't necessarily. I mean, deep down, she wants to do that, but she's not going to go out and do that.
I'm not
Right.
going to go put $100,000 worth of debt up
Right.
somewhere.
Yeah,
No, I'm
and
not
so
gonna
I've
do
had to learn just to go, yeah, that is a beautiful house. Man, it would be nice to live
that. We
there.
found the
wouldn't it?
perfect one in Lebanon. I'm believing it's still going to be
Yeah.
available.
And so I've just learned to do that. Just dream with her, not be the dream slayer over things that are inconsequential. Because that really is. It doesn't matter.
Because it just causes contention.
It does for no reason. So, and that's one of the things that quality time is important about. We've been trained, men especially, have been trained that we analyze and solve every single problem, and we don't remember that marriage is not a problem to be solved. It's not a project. It's a marriage, and that's what we feel like. Well, she wants this house. I've got to figure out how to get her this house, and I've got to do this, and I've got to do that.
Because we're going to want another house next week.
That's right.
This one was only $700,000, I think. It was nothing major.
You can do it.
But I do have to warn you. You do got to be careful with what you dream about, because I've been caught too many times when we go to the store and we go and pick something out, and she goes, "But yeah, you agreed with it."
But there may have also been times when you came home with a mandolin slicer that
You were told to take it.
Yeah.
It was $120 value.
You can just come borrow ours.
and ours it works nice. By the
does
way, I'm just saying.
We let Cameron
Oh,
use
ours-
it. I was
yeah.
nervous.
Ours did work nice the one time we used it, and then it went back to the store.
Julienne dice slice.
I don't know how you got it back in the box.
I know, that's crazy.
So the next on our list is receiving gifts.
All you.
Yeah.
So really, there's two kinds of gifts. There's gifts of self, like you're giving yourself as a gift, and I don't mean sexually. So I know that's where probably Jason's mind went, and probably half the people
He's
listening.
like, yes,
that's
with
not
a
what I
bow
meant.
on top.
I'll give plenty of
And
gifts.
there's gifts that you give, like go to the store, buy chocolates, flowers.
And here's what I
whatever.
think is confusing about this. I love stuff, but gifts is zero. So it's like I think in your mind you think, oh no, I like stuff, but it's not the same at all as somebody who your love language is gifts.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I like it all, both. So, but when I get a gift, I feel like Jason has thought about me that day. I've been on his mind. He went to the store. He knows what I like, and he picked it out. He searched probably 5 stores, which I don't know if he did or not, but
Yeah.
Yes.
to get the
I sure did.
to get the special gift, and it's like even if it's a candle.
You're a princess.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what you feel like.
I love it. I just feel like he thought about me too. He saw a scent I would like, and he got it.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You want to light your candle?" And he's excited. Well, he pretends that he's excited about it as I am.
He's not excited. He's excited that you're maybe going to
Yeah.
fulfill his number one later.
Reciprocate. But
But it is hard to keep secrets, though. We I only in my marriage once or twice have actually kept something a surprise for Christmas or birthday or whatever. And
Yeah.
other than
Sadly.
Like a big gift.
that, yes.
yeah,
Because usually she figures it out or finds something or
because I don't get him that often. So
Oh.
The big ones.
Did you feel that jab? I
Oh,
feel like that
yes.
was a jab.
I work consciously all the time.
he does. He does make efforts. He'll go a few months and really make an effort, and then I don't hear anything.
So I'm
Then
glad.
her tank is empty, and then
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm glad you said that, because one of the points that I wanted to make was, and I'm a firm believer in people who have spouses that gifts is their number one. Put it on your calendar. Go on your phone, and as silly as it sounds, from what I understand, because gifts is zero for me, and you can speak.
I'm
going to
go get a prop while you're talking about this.
prop.
I'll be right back.
I don't even know what's going on. You might want to check on the dogs. The Zach's dog's over, and we're hoping that they're getting along. But anyway, the whole calendar thing, and you can speak to the type of gift, but for most people who want gifts and that's their love language, even the smallest of things make a big difference. So it's as simple as putting on your calendar, on Friday at 5 o'clock, get a reminder when I get my car, stop by the grocery store and get a $5 bundle of flowers.
Yeah.
And it's simple. It doesn't cost much. It doesn't take much time, but it makes all the difference in the world. And when it's not your natural inclination, because it's not your
not
language, then you've got to have those reminders because you don't think about it. It's not because you don't love her.
Yep.
Get a planner.
Oh.
And she's dropping all kind of stuff out of it.
You can get these little stickers. Like you can.
How
make
fun.
Yeah.
And welcome back to 1982 before we had,
Oh, but I love it.
No, if you buy a pretty planner, that makes a lot of difference.
Even before dial-up?
you could have a Palm Trio. Palm Pilot.
Make it intentional. That was my problem. I can't look
Good
at
idea.
in front of that.
I'm sorry.
But it is hard to, because I always want to try to woo her and try to make the best out of my gifts, but which also in my mind kind of thinks the most extravagant, biggest, most expensive ones. And so being the budget friendly one, it's hard to kind of think she wants a $5 candle. And so just trying to keep those things in mind.
Well, one day I was in his truck and I saw this bag and I opened it and it was like a candle and I was like, "What's this candle?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, I got you a candle like a couple weeks ago." And I'm like, "What?"
So you did it, and plus
No, but it didn't do it. It
Yeah.
didn't mean anything.
No.
I'm like,
he didn't give it to you.
no. I'm
That's
like,
funny.
So you did the first step.
and then he forgot about
I
it.
didn't. Yeah, I didn't follow through.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So you should go and get like a bunch of little bags. Like you should get all your stuff that you feel like you need, like cards, like the beginning of the year, like one a month, and then put it on your calendar to go get a gift or I don't know.
Well, I give ideas all the time. I'm like, if like this $10, I'm like, I really love this. I did it this morning at church. And I'm like this. I give him ideas all the time, and he's like,
So do you want him to buy it right then?
"Oh, I want it all
Does
right.
that
Yeah, I
count?
want it like
So
yeah,
that counts.
want it
You
all.
can just buy it right
Right
then.
now.
yeah."
Yeah.
Today.
Because-
Because
like
next week I'm
packages
going to
are
want something
cute.
different, you know.
Yeah.
Even if we're not eating for the rest of the week.
We have a
wants a
10-pound bag of rice. Yeah. Have it.
It's 20.
It's 20 pounds. That's a lot.
Even better.
So I'm curious, people listening, email us and tell us, do you know your love language? If you don't, we'll put up the link for the test. It's a simple, I think it was 15 questions,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
20.
Maybe
So it's real easy, but if you don't even really know your own love language, you definitely can't communicate that to your spouse. So take the test. Tell us what your love language is. So anyway, carry on.
I will
Gifts.
say there's a couple that I remember talking that she was, the wife was gifts. And the husband wasn't at all. And it was definitely, he didn't seem like he was willing to do anything. And she was saying it could be something as simple as a candy bar.
Yeah.
Just to know you thought about me.
Yeah.
And I feel like he wanted to give a more extravagant gift. So rather than give a small gift, he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think
it was like
that
all or nothing with him.
Exactly. So I think you have to watch having lofty goals and not
Yeah.
being able to meet them all the time. So being okay with it being something smaller to where at least they're getting something that's filling that up for 'em.
Well, I feel when I give a gift, I always put a lot of thought into the gift, and I want to make sure that it's enough of a gift. I want to make sure it's something thoughtful. It's something that they would appreciate. This will look great in their house. I mean, I really think these things through when I give a
Because that's
gift.
your love language.
Yeah.
Those are the gifts people
Because I would
love to
never
get.
want to give an unthoughtful gift. It's just
I'm like, I'm going to grab a gift card on the way.
Exactly.
You can pick out something you love.
I got you this nice can of Spam.
That's awesome.
So anything else to add about gifts? Because that's really all it is. I mean, it's understanding.
$5 gift.
Yeah, understanding
Yeah.
what that means and how much of a difference that makes.
Consistency, maybe do it more
Yeah.
frequently.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I think the calendar thing, again, it's hard for me because neither one of us are gifts people, but I think the calendar thing is a good way to do that because it reminds you to do it when you're not thinking about it.
Maybe do it on your personal where your spouse doesn't see the
Right.
reminder. Try to keep it where it might seem more spontaneous until it becomes a habit. Might be a good piece of
Yeah.
wifely advice.
I don't even know would it matter if you knew it was on the calendar for him?
I don't know that I want to be routine. I want to know. He
No,
thought
but
of me.
but
It would matter.
But initially to start, I mean, if that puts a habit in place, would it bother you knowing that?
I don't know. I guess I just want to see it. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, I know. I really I like it when he sends, even when he sends me a text or he says, "I love you." Like, I just want to know he's thinking about me.
Yeah.
That he's not looking at somebody else, or he's not. Just that I'm on his mind.
Yeah. No, I get it.
And is willing to spend his money on you. That's good.
So acts of service. That's your number 2, right?
2.
It's my
So,
number 2.
Well,
Your number 2. So what are acts of service to you guys?
I think it's just really, and it's hard to say that because I would rather give acts than receive. Jen always tries to get up and get me a cup of coffee in the morning or try to refill.
I'm already cozy on the couch with a blanket, and then I'm like going to get a cup of coffee, and he's like, "No, just I'll get it. It's okay."
So it's, I think for someone whose act of service is hard to receive, the actual true service because you want to go up and just you don't care to do it yourself,
Right.
So it doesn't really bother you, or you don't want to put somebody else out. And I think that's what you're trying to do as your own acts of service, is that you're trying to meet other people's needs. So you don't necessarily want other people to go out of their way for you.
Yeah.
So I think that's the hard part.
And with Crystal's being acts of service in her second spot, I have, through the years, I find myself being like a 12-year-old boy trying to get her approval and get words of affirmation by doing acts of service. Making sure that the house is clean or the supper is cooked, and I'm waiting for her to come in and be excited and going, "You did a great job." And no.
Then I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, thank you so much. And he's like, it's already too late. I've already missed it. I've already missed the boat.
But here's the danger, and this is my whole point. That's not bad on her. That's bad on me, because I should not be doing acts of service for her with the expectation of her giving back to me.
Right.
The acts of service cannot be out of me trying to get something out of it. It's got to be because I love her and I want to serve her and I want to give her those things, because whether she verbalizes those or not, deep down that makes her happy and it gives her pleasure. So that's the place you've got to get to. You've got to get to the place where you're not giving gifts. Giving
Well, I think that goes in for all the languages.
Yeah.
It goes back to the coffee bar compliment.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Exactly. So cooking, cleaning, painting, whatever, anything can be an act of service if you're taking the time out to do that and to put it into
Or anything
it.
that's helpful. If it's something that you truly need help with, or just knowing that you don't mind to take the energy to lend a hand and help get something done. It can be anything. And I think it's
one of the comments out of this book that really fits into every single category. It says, requests give direction to love, but demands stop the flow of love. And if you stop and think about, we should all be in a place in your marriages, especially we're 10 years, or 17 years, to a place where you can say, hey, if you would do this, this would make me feel this way, and this would make me do this, instead of going, you know what, I need you to do this, and this is what it's very different. It's saying, if you do this way, then it's going to make this happen. So I think that's just such a key phrase for every one of those love languages, of being able to say, this is what I need, and this is what will happen if I get that.
Well, and in the book, he shares story after story from counseling of couples who, he just doesn't love me, or she doesn't love me. All they do is, I want him to, I don't know what example it was, and he's out, washing the car and waxing it and doing all this stuff, doing acts of service, but all she wants to hear is that she's pretty, and vice versa, where they're both trying to convey that they love each other, but they don't have the right language and the right tools to do it. So you have to get to a place where you're able to verbalize, this is what I need, this is what's missing. And I think until you read the book, take the test, figure out what it is, and know, this is what's missing. You're doing one thing, but I need something completely different,
Right.
because that doesn't
It's
register.
Nanny talking to the Germans.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
When all she would have to have done was turn and look at her son-in-law and said, ask them if they like to eat crab legs. And the frustration would have gone from, I'm trying to talk to you and you can't understand
But
me.
it would
to-
not have been
would have lit up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
would not have been
understanding what
funny.
that flow is, and that there's a way to do it.
But when we were newly married, I would get so frustrated because I was always trying to do acts of service for her, thinking that's what she needed.
Yeah.
And because it came
I
so
don't
easy.
care.
And so it was one until we went through the class years ago and realized I didn't need to give her acts of service to show her or make her feel love towards me, I needed to give her the gifts so that way she would feel love for me. So it's so that's it's so easy to do what you're natural to do, and that's why I think this book is so important, is to really kind of go through and figure out what your spouse's needs are, so that way you can get them to feel the love.
Yeah, for sure.
That's great. What's the last one?
Physical touch.
Physical touch.
Yes.
I'd like to save that one for last because it's a good one.
No.
Well, I have a hard time with that one because how do you know if it's a guy thing or if it's a love? I mean, it's obviously a love language, but sometimes when he's wanting whatever, I'm like, which side is it?
Wait, wanting whatever? What's whatever?
All that stuff.
So it's in the middle of touching. She's analyzing. Well, is this a guy thing or is this a physical touch
Physical
thing?
touch.
So
Because
I
physical
think
touch can be
absolutely, and I think that's the key. I think and it's different,
It just
obviously,
doesn't
from a
always
male
stay
perspective.
non-sexual.
holding your spouse while they're crying, holding hands. If you're
When does your spouse cry?
right, exactly.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, but it's more than just sex. Now, obviously, in the male perspective, sex is number one, and if your love language is physical touch. But there's also, and you can see in people, we've had people in our life group that they didn't want any physical touch, didn't want anything around them, don't touch me, and they're not the people you see that are holding hands and arm around each other, that kind of thing. And so I think for you guys, it's very apparent. Jason has his arm around you, hold hands. It is more than just the sex of physical touch. But I think it is a hard line to say, okay, because most guys are going to be physical touch, especially sexually. And there can be guys that want the physical touch of sex, but don't want to hold hands, don't want to, be snuggled up. So I think that's where the difference is.
No, that's all good.
Nothing else?
That's good.
Yes, I mean, again, physical touch is just that. I mean, it isn't just sex. It is when you're sitting on the couch holding hands, you're sitting in church with your arm around your spouse.
Yeah.
That feeling
Reassuring.
That's right.
It's that closeness.
It is.
The proximity again.
And that's where it is proximity.
Yep.
With quality time,
Yeah.
it's not proximity. With physical touch, it is proximity, being in that close quarters. And
I think if you're physical touch and acts of service are your top couple, I think a back rub is like the best thing in the world because it's a perfect combination.
I never thought about that.
So it's pretty good.
yeah.
Anything else on physical touch?
No, that's
That
all I
it?
have.
I think that's potentially the easiest one if you can just not let it be.
Well, the thing
sex
is, I
all
don't
the time.
remember to. We are very touchy and loving, and I don't know that I do that on purpose because I just like to do it, but I don't, and I know that he loves it.
Yeah, I think by nature, I think we're both a little bit more touchy-feely. And we're not, kind of. You have your bubble, and I have my bubble.
Right.
So
I'm like that with everybody else, but not.
Yeah, no, I'm the
You
same
can
way.
come in.
Yeah.
You can be in my bubble.
But sometimes I have to make a conscious effort to touch him in ways that he I know he would appreciate.
Well, another telling sign is if you're naturally a hugger when you meet people, when you're around people.
Yeah.
Are you a hugger? Do you hug people? Do you, that's another telling sign of physical touch. It's
And you
not
touch them when you talk to
Yeah.
them.
when you touch,
things
when you
like
talk.
that.
That's
Yeah.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I'm just thinking through all that. That's true.
We all know that those people who stand close to you and then you back up and they talk and they're like,
Five people just came to mind.
Here's the deal. I don't think they're physical touch. I think they just awkward. They're awkward and they don't know boundaries.
Like on Seinfeld. Oh, the close talker.
and you're like this.
Especially if you're way taller than me.
Right.
Backing up. Everybody's taller.
If I can tell what you had for dinner last night. Too close. Little garlic.
So, in preparing for this today, I was reading through some articles while I was waiting on Sophie. And one I came across I thought was interesting. And it's basically shooting holes in this whole theory. So I thought it might be interesting to see what
Interesting.
they have to say about it. So a couple of the main points, and this was from a pastor, is does this promote an attitude of, and this he's combined a couple of thoughts from Matthew 5 and Luke 6. Even tax collectors, Gentiles, and sinners love those who love them. So does it promote an attitude of, I love you because you love me. I'll do for you because you do for me. I'll scratch your back.
No, because I think you're
scratch my back.
you're like, especially somebody who's acts of service and you're not, you're going out of your way to show love to them.
But are you expecting something in return?
Well,
Are you
that's up to that
expecting
person.
them
Yeah,
to
that's up to that
fill your
person.
love tank up? And then it talked about the scratch my back and I'll scratch yours, which I think goes back to the manipulation and kind of the whole mindset you have to watch having. And then the last thing that I just thought was an interesting thought is, does this play to the lust of the flesh as a need? Does your lust of the flesh become a need in your life? Is it letting you label something as a need and rather than a servant-hearted love? I was like, I don't know. I don't know the right or wrong.
That's all
I just thought
good.
they were interesting questions.
My initial thought of that is possibly, but the big thing for me, I think, is, do you operate better in every area of your life when your love tank's full?
Absolutely.
I mean, so that's the kind of the point for me that kind of sets it. Of, I know that I operate better when my love tank's full. Do I manipulate to get it full? I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know that there's necessarily anything wrong with it as long as you're not actually manipulative. Like,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like in a derogatory
way,
way.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
Like in a controlling manipulation.
Right, in a controlling way.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't think either one of us do that. I don't think we're doing things to try to make our love tanks be full. I think we just naturally, everybody wants their love tank to be full, and I think we don't even, until I read this, I didn't know what a love tank was. Like, I knew it was there. You can't put your finger on it till it's verbalized.
it's just a basic need that everybody has.
It is.
Yeah.
And we've gotten to the place too, me anyway, not her so much, but I'm fine with going, hey, my love tank's empty.
Yeah.
I'm going to need you to do whatever you need to, but it's sucking fumes and I don't even like you right now, so figure that out.
And I'm real cranky and
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think you could have a good marriage without Jesus, but you could have even better marriage with Jesus. So you could have a good relationship with not necessarily going through love language therapy or
Right.
make a conscious effort of it, but when you make a conscious effort of it, it takes it to the next level. And I think that's, to me, I think that's what's so important is it just takes it to the next level.
Yeah.
To make it better, so that way you both communicate together, and you don't get to the point when divorce is the only option.
it's more fulfilling for both of you.
Yeah.
Because you don't get to that empty, barren place where you feel unappreciated and all the rest of it.
And I think that's how affairs can start because your love tank is empty.
Absolutely. Because
Somebody
who's
else
going to fill that love
fill
tank
it.
up?
Right.
Somebody else fills that love tank up and you're like, oh.
And maybe
Yeah.
it's unknowingly and maybe it's knowingly.
I think a lot of times
way.
it's unknowingly, but and this I think is also good for friends. I mean, it doesn't have to be just for
absolutely.
marriage.
It's any relationship.
Yeah.
Note to self, don't buy Jennifer a gift card.
Gift off for gifts.
No, I'm not against gift cards.
Gift cards are fine if they're the right place.
That's right. But I do have to say that, as going back to gifts for just a second, homemade gifts to me are always the best. So when somebody like Jason puts his time and energy into, he's out in the garage working and he's tired, he's done after work, to me that shows me that he loves me.
Well, and I think your coffee
an
table is a
investment.
prime example because yesterday I went over and I was helping, put some paint on to do some different
Which you did a
things.
good job, by the way. Just
Thanks. And just Jennifer talking about it, she's like, "Didn't Jason do a good job?" I mean, just
Did I
that.
say that? Did
Oh
I
yeah,
say
just
that?
beaming with pride because he's made that for
And you've
her.
been so excited about it.
yeah,
You've been so excited
I wanted
about
it
the
since we
table.
moved into our home.
So Mark Gungor makes a point through his series about
Bartering.
no, not the bartering. The how your gift could keep on giving. Well, it goes beyond just the initial giving the actual gift, but when it means something, especially to your spouse, every time they talk to their friends, you get more into your tank.
Yeah.
And
It's like you're getting interest on your investment.
exactly.
Right, that's exactly a good way to put
And
it.
so and I made a point about you posting on your Facebook about Brian's coffee bar. I told her, I said, that's exactly another sign that keeps investing into that.
Yeah.
And it's not just the initial gift, but it keeps on giving because they're wanting to show it off and be proud of it. Not only just it's not like they went and bought it out at a store, but their loved one made them something.
Absolutely.
And that's not natural for her. I won't say the only reason, but the main reason she posts stuff like that on social media is for me. To give me the words of affirmation and the credit, and because she knows that other people are going to say, "Oh, you did such a good job," and it really
I'm baiting the hook for you, babe.
Yeah, yeah, and I know that. I mean, I'm okay with it though, because it is. I mean, that still does fill my love tank, even though that I know that she's doing that very intentionally. I know it's intentional, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't make me go, "Well, she's being shady. She's just doing that to fill my love tank."
Yeah.
You know, it's
Because she's not being manipulative
Right.
about it. She just knows that's what you
it's
need.
genuine, and she
Yeah.
knows that it's yeah.
Well, and again, I just thought that last article was interesting because I've never read anything negative towards the 5 love languages at all. That's the first time I've ever heard a negative slant towards it. But in another one talking about God, it wrapped the 5 love languages in Scripture and talked about the 5 ways that they, through the Scripture, can apply to God and your relationship with Him. And so there's some interesting things out there to correlate it back to.
So Dr. Gary Chapman, 5 Love Languages, go get that book and take the test. We'll put the link for the test on the site as well.
Not Keith Chapman's brother.
And
Not Keith Chapman's brother, no.
another thing to remember is that your love languages can change over time.
Yeah.
As you go farther into your marriage and you learn about each other more, I think you learn about yourself in a different way. And circumstances
That's
change
really
that
good.
too.
Yeah.
Really good. And I think, too, if you can, figure out what the love languages for your children are and make sure that you're filling those up as well.
Kaylee's teacher did that test on her.
Did she
Yeah,
really?
her first day of school, she brought home the test. And I thought it was great. I thought,
that
how
is
neat.
great.
Yeah.
I think
know
from
how
a
to
sales
interact with them.
perspective, I think every sales manager should give their salespeople a love languages test and a personality test. I think it's so powerful.
Yeah.
Again, just knowing how to communicate
That's right.
effectively with somebody.
If you and again in a work environment, if you know that words of affirmation is somebody's and somebody else's gifts, I mean, you can really motivate them very differently. So anyway,
A speech versus a coffee mug. You know,
That's right.
it's like,
Right.
yeah,
that's good.
This shirt will look great on you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. So thanks for tuning in as always. Get the book, check it out. We have lots more of Marriage Toolbox to cover. We've got sheet music. We've got love and respect, which will probably be 2 because there's so much information there. Finances. We're in Financial Peace University right now, and
Which I'm so excited about.
I know, me too.
So excited.
I think your bracelet's hooked to your scarf there. Oh no, it came loose. I've just had a vision. So we're excited about the Marriage Toolbox stuff. Next week, our daughter Edie's podcast will be out. We're real excited about that. Got lots of good stuff coming up. We still have lots of guests to bring in and lots of stuff that we want to cover. So check us out on the website, sundayeveningcoffee.com, and email us at sundayeveningcoffee@gmail.com. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on Periscope. So watch us every week on Periscope too, because we kind of cut up and usually have a little bit of fun on Periscope. But anyway, have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you next time on Sunday Evening Coffee.